know why, but I feel like my face looks really red when I'm sat here. Maybe it's the paintwork behind, or maybe it's my red shirt, but I feel like my face looks like it's really sunburnt. Anyway, right, so Sunday 20th of February, I've just done Bullet, which you should have seen yesterday, but I'm actually uploading it tonight. Whatever. Anyway, so the next one is it's another bourbon, and it is part of the collection of miniatures that had been inherited by a friend of my daughter's, by a mother of one of my daughter's school friends. Yeah, that sounds right. She had a whole bunch of miniatures, and I purloined a load for the challenge, as well as then trying to sell a load of hers to get some money. And in amongst the miniatures was this particular one here, which is called Cougar. Cougar Bourbon. So I'm like, well, I've never heard of that. That sounds interesting. That's going in the pile. So I've done a bit of research, and Cougar is, if you're watching from Australia and New Zealand, you're probably sitting there going, oh, Cougar, yeah, brilliant, he's going to do that one. Never heard of it, no idea, not a clue. I was thinking, what the fuck is this? This looks like absolute dog shit. But it's an export only to Australia and New Zealand, and really, really big over there, absolutely huge. So it's owned by the Foster's Group, who are part of SAB Miller, and it's Foster's as in a lager, which if you're in the UK, you know Foster's. In the US, probably not. I don't think Foster's is particularly big if it's around there over at all. If it's around there at all, over at all, nonsense. So it's owned by Foster's, as in the lager, and this particular bourbon is actually made in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Lawrenceburg is here, the same Lawrenceburg where Bullet Bourbon was made that I've just had and that you watched yesterday. Apart from that, I know very, very little about this. Now, this is the miniature that I've got, but the current bottle looks like this. So it's a fairly different packaging. I think this is an older one, so it's entirely possible that it might have changed flavours and things like that as well. It is minimum for an aged. It is aged for a minimum of 5 years, apparently, and the marketing bump says it was created in 1865. Now that could mean absolutely anything. Basil Hayden, that I had 2 nights ago, was supposedly started from 1796, because of that was when Basil Hayden started distilling whiskey, and that was what their Jim Beam's particular brand was named after. That whiskey itself wasn't started in 1796, but that's what they can use as a kind of marketing thing to say, you know, it sounds older than it actually is, or it's got more of a heritage than it actually is. Now, apparently this used to be called Sam Cougars, so it's entirely possible that in 1865, yeah, it's entirely possible in 1865, Sam Cougar was a person who was making whiskey somewhere in America that has some kind of ties to Australia. But I've been able to find out very, very little about this. Now, from what I can gather, this is pretty much like there with Jim Beam White Label and Jack Daniels and your kind of entry-level, pretty cheap bourbons, you know, you're kind of like entry-level, we just want to drink it and get drunk and all this lot. Now, interestingly, in Australia and New Zealand, this is sold at 37% ABV, so it can't actually be called whiskey over here and in America. But this particular one that I've got says 43%. So I've got a feeling this has been bought while somebody's travelling and they've got it in a miniature in an airport in Australia or something like that, because it might be that they're actually doing 43% in order to be sold on duty free. So it's exported to Australia and New Zealand, but they then do a 43% version that they can then sell in duty free. That's my guess anyway. So we'll see. This, who knows what this is going to be like. It's actually quite a nice colour. There's a really nice kind of copper orange look to it. It looks quite good. I'm not sure whether you can pick that up on the camera. I probably need to get some kind of white background, but I can't be arsed. It's far too poncy for me to do it. You're just going to have to take my word for it, like I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, there's a really nice kind of orangey colour to it as well. Not that bad on the nose. Not a great deal, not massively so. Not much burn, not too much sweetness. It's there, but it's not particularly deep. See, I'm picking up a little bit of a slightly off character as well. Not as bad as the Prince of Wales that I had, but it's getting that way. It's slightly petrol-y. It's not particularly pleasant. It's not obvious, and it was only after the third or fourth kind of breath that I'd actually pick that up. See, now I'm looking for it and I can kind of pick it up, but it's not offensive. It's not that bad. It's quite rich. It's quite rich, and then all of a sudden, as you swallow, it kind of like grabs the back of your throat and scratches you on the way down. But it's not harsh. It's not. It's got quite a rich smoothness to it initially, and it's just as you swallow it, kind of like goes bang in the back of your throat. There's not a massive amount to it, and it's done it again. There's not a huge amount to it as it's sitting on my tongue and in my mouth, and as I swallow, it kind of like grabs the back of my throat, like a cat trying to get out curtains, but going the other way. It's kind of sliding down my throat, going, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. It's not that bad, actually. It's all right. There's not a huge amount on the finish, but what there is that kind of like soft caramelly treacly, not treacly. Treacly is probably a bit too rich, but it's like a soft caramel. You know, when you get like Milk Tray or Terry's All Gold or something like that. Americans probably got no idea what I'm talking about, but kind of chocolate covered caramels where the caramel is a smooth caramel that's kind of runny. It's like that, as you know, kind of in your mouth as the flavours. It's actually pretty pleasant. It's just a shame it hits you at the back of the throat, and it's only 43%, so it's not a high alcohol percentage. It's like there's just an edginess to it just on that final third. But all in all, surprisingly good, because if you look at that and you've never heard of it before, you're thinking, Jesus Christ, this is going to be bad. But it's not actually that bad at all. So yeah, the Aussies have got a pretty decent one. Now, to be honest, and I've put the new bottle up now, that new bottling doesn't look particularly good. That I say new, that's what it is at the moment, and it's not a great piece of packaging, and it does look particularly cheap. But as a cheap throwaway bourbon, it's not that bad at all. That was a pleasant surprise. Okay, I now need to do a shit ton of washing up. Joy. So I will leave you for now, and I will probably come and be back tomorrow to do a few more, to do another two. One of them may be a very, very special whiskey indeed, or not. Anyway, I'll see you at the next one.